everyone, welcome to today's video tutorial. In today's video we're going to be walking through step by step of Mossy the Frog from LYKKE's AMITAMI kits, but before we start Mossy, let me show you all the materials included in your kit today so we can get familiar with them, and then we'll jump right into the tutorial. So first and foremost, we do have our instructions here. This is what I will be walking through step by step with you, but if you want to follow along with me on the written instructions, we're going to start at the body and work our way down like so. We also have our main color here, which is going to be our green yarn, but we will need some accent colors. So we have a small amount of color A, which is going to be light pink, and color B, which is going to be black. Both of those. We have a small amount of stuffing here. This will be the perfect amount to stuff Mossy with. We also have a tapestry needle and a stitch marker so we can weave in our ends and to mark the last stitch of each round. And arguably the most important part of the project is going to be our crochet hook. So that is all our materials out of the way. Now let's get set up and we'll get right into the video. One last thing before we actually start making Mossy. On the instruction kit, if you're interested, there is also a chart for abbreviations as well as a basic conversion chart and a diagram to make the magic ring. I will be showing you this in just a moment, but again, if you want to check any of those out, they are all listed here on the instruction kit for you. So without further ado, let's get right into making Mossy. So to get started, the only materials we need out in front of us right now are going to be our green yarn, our crochet hook, and our stitch marker. And for round one, it says use the main color, our green, to make a magic ring and put 6 single crochets into that ring. Tug the tail to tighten the ring and mark the last stitch of the round. Move the marker each round. In order to do that, I'll have to show you how to make a magic ring. Now, magic ring is definitely the trickiest part of this whole tutorial, so stick with me. If you have a really difficult time understanding this, that's totally okay. Definitely practice, but I will have a little hack for you as well, just in case it's a little bit too challenging, but I would encourage you to give it a try with me. So let's start our magic ring by placing 2 fingers out. They're going to be our index finger and our middle finger, and lay the yarn over those fingers so the tail end is hanging off of our middle finger here, and the working yarn, which is the one attached to the skein, is up at our index finger. We're going to give that yarn a wrap around under our middle finger and back over our index finger, creating an X over the index finger. We can slightly turn our hand, and with our ring finger, we're just going to grab that yarn and hold it down in place like so. With our crochet hook facing downwards, so the hook side is down, we're going to go under that first strand and grab that second strand of yarn, pulling it back under the first. Once we get back under the first strand, we can give it a little twist towards us and slide it over to the working yarn. We're then going to go and scoop the working yarn up with our hook, pulling it through that current loop on the hook, and there we go. We now have 1 loop on our hook and our adjustable magic ring is made. The nice thing about the adjustable magic ring is once you place all of your stitches into it, you can pull it nice and snug and that'll create your circle. So let's do that one more time together just to get the hang of it, because I know it's a lot of steps at once. So we have our 2 fingers out first. We're draping the yarn over our fingers and holding it in place with our thumb. We're taking that working yarn, wrapping it around our fingers and creating an X over our index finger. Turning our hand, we're going to grab that yarn with our ring finger, and with our crochet hook facing downward, we can go under the first strand, grab that second strand, and pull it under the first strand again. Small twist to the hook towards us, and slide the hook over to the working yarn. Grab that working yarn, scooping it up on our hook and pulling it through the loop that's currently on our hook to create our magic ring. And then when we pull it closed, it is magic. So in case that is too challenging, again, don't worry. I know that's a lot to comprehend at once. We can do another quick little hack, which is just a chain up of 4. So make your slip knot and chain up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now from here, you can go ahead into that first chain from the hook, that first one nearest to the slip knot. You can just create a slip stitch, which is going through both loops on the hook there. And into this little circle here, which will be really challenging to show you on camera, you can work all of your single crochets into this circle. The only downside to doing it this way is you cannot adjust the size of your circle. So it is set at that size versus the magic ring, you can pull it closed. So whichever of those works best for you, you go ahead and do that. I'm just gonna make the magic ring and then we'll begin the second part of step 1 or round 1. So after we have our magic ring, we need to place 6 single crochets into the ring. So every time we make a single crochet, we're going into that circle, scooping the yarn and pulling it back up, yarning over and pulling through. That is a single crochet stitch. So again, always going into the circle, grabbing the yarn and pulling it back through. Number 2. We need to do this 6 times total. So here's 3, 4, 5, and 6. If you are using the magic ring method, make sure you're always working over both of these strands. So when you pull it, it'll cinch all the stitches closed. So now that I have my 6 single crochet, I can go ahead and give that tail a tug to close it up. There we go. And we'll place our stitch marker in the last stitch from the round 1 right there. That's going to mark the end of each round, which will be very important as we start to work Mossy's body up even more. So now for round 2, we need to make an increase in every stitch. An increase is just going to be 2 single crochets into 1 stitch. So let's go into that first stitch we made from round 1, and we're going to just place 2 single crochets into that stitch. So we have 1 into the same stitch, we'll do 2. Just like that, and that creates an increase. Into the next stitch here, 1 single crochet, and again into that same stitch, 1 more single crochet. Let's do one more time together. Into this next stitch, 1 single crochet, and still in that same stitch, 1 more single crochet. Go ahead and complete the rest of the 3 stitches by yourself, and we'll have 12 single crochet at the end of round 2. So our instructions for round 3 are to make 1 single crochet in the next stitch and a single crochet increase in the next stitch. That'll get us to 24 single crochets because we're going to do it 6 times. So let's do the first time together. Into the first stitch, 1 regular single crochet, and into that next stitch, we'll do our first increase of this round, which is 2 single crochets in the stitch. All right, one more time together. Into the next stitch, 1 single crochet, and into that next stitch, 2 single crochets. Go ahead and complete that another 4 times all the way around. We'll have a new stitch count of 18 at the end of this round. Okay, and for round 4, you're gonna start to notice a pattern here as we work these rounds up, but we are gonna make 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches and then an increase. And our new stitch count will be 24 at the end of this round. So we have 1 single crochet, in the next stitch, 1 single crochet, and then in that following stitch, 2 single crochet for the increase. And we had to do that 6 times, so go ahead and complete that sequence 5 more times. I will see you at the end of this round. We'll begin the next one together. All right, now for round 5, we're gonna continue increasing the size of our circle. So that means we're gonna do 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches, and then an increase. We're gonna do that 6 times. Our new stitch count will be 30, so go ahead and complete that 6 times in a row, making 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches and then an increase, and I will meet you back here to start round 6 together. All right, for round 6, we have a similar set of instructions. This time we are going to do 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches and then an increase. We'll complete this again 6 times for a new stitch count of 36. So I will meet you back here at the end of round 6 and we'll start round 7 together. Okay, round 7 again is following a very similar pattern. We're going to add 1 more single crochet in between our increases. So for this round, we are going to do 1 single crochet in the next 5 stitches and then an increase to bring our stitch count up to 42. You're going to do this 6 times as well. So I'll see you back here at the end of this round and we will begin round 8 together. Now for round 8, I'm sure you can guess what we're going to be doing here. We're going to be placing 1 single crochet in the next 6 stitches, then an increase. We're going to bring our new stitch count up to 48. So go ahead and complete that and I'll meet you back here at the end of round 8. We'll begin round 9 together. All right, so now for round 9, we're going to do something a little bit different. We are going to just place 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. We're not doing any increasing this round, so we're keeping that stitch count at 48, just 1 single crochet in every stitch. Go ahead and complete that. I will meet you back here to work round 10. All right, so now for round 10, we're going to increase again. So we're going to make 1 single crochet in the next 7 stitches and then an increase 6 times to bring our stitch count up from 48 to 54. So go ahead and complete that, and I will meet you back here after you've worked that 6 times and you have a new stitch count of 54 single crochets. All right, that's the end of round 10. As you can see, we have a very flat circle that has been worked here. So this is as wide as our body is going to get for Mossy. So now we need to build up the sides to kind of build up the belly, back, all that area, and to kind of start to form a circle shape here. In order to do that, we're going to work something called a repeat round, which is going to be the same exact instructions for the next however many rounds. In this case, we're working rounds 11 through 19, which is going to be 9 rounds by working 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around. No increasing at all in here. We're just going to build up the sides of Mossy's body. Biggest things I can note for these instructions is to make sure at the end of every single round you're still moving your stitch marker up so you keep place of where your last stitch was, as well as either on the instructions or a scrap piece of paper, keep a tally so you don't lose count of what round you have worked of the 9. It's very easy to lose track. So I'm going to work these 9 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch, and I will see you back here after we've worked those. We'll begin round 20 together. Welcome back from working those 9 rounds. As you can see, we have a kind of giant bowl shape now, if you will, and those were those sides I was talking about us working up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the loop on my hook and I'm just going to pull it straight up just to get it kind of out of the way, and so we don't lose our spot there, because before we start decreasing the body of Mossy, we do want to fill it with some stuffing. So I have my stuffing out. This is quite a lot, but I just pulled a little bit forward, and I like to pull it apart with my fingers a little bit before actually adding it into the project, just to fluff it up a little bit. And we're just going to push this into the body. Now you want to stuff this firmly, but not overstuff. So you don't want the top to look like this, because we do still need to work in these single crochets, and we do not want to be pulling stuffing in our stitches while we work that. So let's push this all down and into the body here. You're just going to add the appropriate amount of stuffing that you think, and don't worry, because as we work the decreases, you will be able to add more as we go. So this is kind of just the baseline for Mossy's body stuffing. Once you're pretty satisfied with how stuffed it is, I'm pretty happy with this here, I'm going to put my crochet hook back onto the loop, and then I'm just going to pull the loop closed here so that it's ready to work the next round, because for round 20 we're going to begin decreasing, which we haven't done yet. So we are going to work 1 single crochet in the next 7 stitches, then a decrease, because we want our stitch count to go back down to 48. So to do that, we'll do 1 single crochet in the next 7 stitches as normal. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then number 7 is right here. Perfect. Now we need to work a decrease over these next 2 stitches. So a decrease is just making 2 stitches into 1 stitch. In order to do that, we're just going to go into that first stitch, grab our loop and pull it up. Now we have 2 loops on the hook. This is when we usually just yarn over and complete our single crochet. But now to make the decrease, we're going to also go into the next stitch, grab that yarn and pull that up. So we have 3 loops on the hook. Now we'll yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. That creates a decrease. So let's do that one more time together just so you get the idea. Let me work 7 more single crochets quickly, and then we'll do another decrease. So this is number 3, 4, 5, 6, and number 7. So all right, another decrease over these next 2 stitches. Into the first stitch, grab the loop and pull it up. Into the next stitch, grab the loop, pull it up, 3 loops on the hook, yarning over, pulling through like that. So now we've worked 2 sets of the single crochet 7 and then a decrease. We needed 6 times total, so go ahead and work that 4 more times by yourself. I will meet you back here at the end of round 20. We'll begin round 21 together. Now for round 21, we're going to do a round of decreasing again. So this is going to be very similar to how we built the circle up, how we added 1 single crochet in between our increasing. we're gonna take away 1 single crochet from our decreasing in order to close the rest of this hole up. So that means that for round 21, we're gonna do 6 single crochets and then a decrease. So go ahead and complete that. 6 single crochet and a decrease 6 times. Our new stitch count is going to be 42 at the end of round 21. Now that we've worked round 21 and have 42 single crochet, we're going to start round 22. Round 22 is 1 single crochet in the next 5 stitches, then a decrease. We're going to do that 6 times, bringing our stitch count down to 36. So go ahead and complete that, and I'll meet you back here at the end of this round. We'll begin the next round together. So for round 23, I'm sure you can kind of guess what this round is going to be. We're going to make 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches and then a decrease. So again, just taking one of those single crochets away before the decrease. Go ahead and complete that 6 times, and I'll meet you back here at the beginning of the round. We'll begin round 24 together. Our next round is round 24. We're going to go down to 24 single crochets. In order to do that, 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches, then a decrease. Go ahead and complete that a total of 6 times, and I'll meet you back here to start the next round together. Okay, I think you can really start to see our circle closing up now. So now for round 25, we're almost to the end of our decreasing. We are going to make 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, then a decrease. We're going to do that 6 times, bringing our stitch count down to just 18. So go ahead and complete round 25. I'll meet you back here for round 26, which is going to be the last round of our frog's body. I'll see you back here in just a moment. Okay, let's do this last round together. Round 26, single crochet decrease all the way around. We're not doing any single crochets in between these decreases. We're just going straight into decreasing. We want to complete this 9 times. So we go into every stitch, and then that way we only have 9 single crochets left. So I'm just working my way around this circle. This is going to start getting really tight, so just work the best you can. And we're going to fill this with some stuffing once we've completed all the way around. Almost to the end here. You might have to pinch it together a little bit with your fingers to reach, because when you do a decrease all the way around, it's definitely, like I said, gets a little tight. I have 2 more left here. All right, I'm going to remove my stitch marker for the last one. And I'm going to work my last single crochet decrease. There we go. So now we have a very small hole, and I need to stuff my frog the rest of the way because he's very, very squishy. We want him to be a lot more firm. So pulling that crochet hook up so that I have enough room where I won't lose my last stitch there. We don't want that to happen. And I'm just going to begin stuffing more of the stuffing into the frog. If this hole is too small for you to push your finger through, another thing you can do is just take the end of your crochet hook and push it in like that. So stuff your froggy nice and firm, then we will snip our ends off and fasten this off, close the hole together. So I'll meet you back here once my frog is firmly stuffed. All right, ready to finish off the frog? Here we go. Let's put our crochet hook back onto that big loop we've made, and let's pull it closed here, okay? There we go, nice and snug. We're gonna just chain up 1. This will just help us to secure our fastening off, and then leave yourself a nice little tail. I'm gonna take my scissors, snip the tail here, and to finally finish off the frog, we are just going to go ahead and take this loop that's on our crochet hook, pull your crochet hook straight up and off, and let that tail come off of your hook, just like that. That's going to secure the hole closed, and now we just need to sew this up. So let's grab our tapestry needle and thread it onto our green yarn here. Once you have your tapestry needle threaded, we're ready to sew our hole closed. So what I like to do is I like to weave around these last few stitches, and then I pull it nice and snug. So let's come from our first stitch here. Let's push the needle from the inside where the stuffing is out towards us like that. Okay, and then into the next stitch. Now we're only working in this last round of single crochet here. Into the next stitch, we're going to go inward towards the stuffing or away from us. And we're going to mimic this pattern all the way around. So the next stitch is coming towards us, following stitch away from us. That's 4. Next stitch towards us, next stitch away from us. All the way around here so we can cinch this nice and snug closed and not have any stuffing coming out. Got one more time here, our last one. Once you've gone around the whole circle, give it a close, Nice tug there, and that'll close up your hole, just like that. So now we just need to weave this end in a couple of times so that it doesn't come loose. We don't want that to happen. I'm just gonna weave it back and forth between these last few stitches here. Doesn't have to have any rhyme or reason to how you are weaving this through, just so that the hole is nice and closed. And once you feel confident that you've woven it through enough times without anything coming undone, you can just do one final weave through. Have this come out anywhere randomly on the body. Mine's coming out here. That's fine with me. I'm just gonna pull it through and we're gonna snip that end so it doesn't come flying out of our project later at the bottom. We wouldn't want that. I'm just gonna snip it really close to the body, just like that. And now our end is nicely tucked in and hidden, and we have the beginnings of Mossy's body. So we can put Mossy's body aside. We're gonna make some eye sockets next. So still with our crochet hook in front of us, our stitch marker, and our green yarn, we're going to go ahead and make a magic ring, or you can do your chain 4 slip stitch method, whichever one you decided was easier for you to work. And for this eye socket, we need to make 6 single crochets into the magic ring again, or into your chain 4 slip stitch. So whichever one you're doing, I'm just making sure I'm going into the circle every single time and working over both those strands there. I have 3 here, and I have 4, 5, 6, just like that. Pull that hole closed if you did the magic ring, and then place your stitch marker in the last stitch of the round there to mark that stitch. So now, very similar to how we work the body, we are going to work a round of all increasing. So we're pretty used to increasing by now, but into that first stitch, place 2 single crochet. We're bringing our stitch count from 6 up to 12. So go ahead and work that all the way around, 2 single crochet in each stitch, and I'll meet you back here for round 3. All right, very good. So now for round 3, it says 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches and an increase 3 times. Let's bring our stitch count up to 15. So we'll work the first one together. 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. And then an increase. Now we needed to do that 3 times total, so do that 2 more times and I'll meet you back for round 4. Now for round 4 and 5, which is going to finish off our eye socket, you're going to work 2 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch. So our stitch count will stay at 15. Go ahead and work 1 single crochet in every stitch for 2 rounds and I'll meet you back to fasten off this eye socket. Once you've worked your 2 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch, you can remove your stitch marker entirely because we are done with the eye socket much quicker than the body was there. And we're gonna cut ourselves a tail for sewing on later. We will also be stuffing the eye socket lightly there, so you can do that now or once we attach it to the body, whichever you prefer. Go ahead and make 1 more of these the exact same way, and then we're gonna take a small break from our green yarn and we're gonna make 2 cheeks with our pink yarn, which is our color A, light pink. So I'll be right back once I make the other eye socket and we'll begin the cheeks together. Now that we have both of our eye sockets created, we have pulled our light pink yarn in front of us and we're ready to make the cheeks. So we're going to make 2 of these again, but I will make the first one with you, just like the eye socket. And for the cheek, it says round 1 using color A and a magic ring. Put 8 single crochet into the magic ring and slip stitch in the first stitch to join. So go ahead and make your magic ring, or of course, again, you can do your chain 4 slip stitch as well here. And we'll make 8 single crochets into our ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and got 1 more here, but I'm just gonna pull my ring closed a little bit to fit that last one, and 8. All right, perfect. Now I'm gonna pull this all the way closed, just like that. And to finish off the cheek here, all we need to do is slip stitch into this first stitch to join. Voila, we have our cheek completed. Nice and simple there. So we can chain one, we'll cut this off and go ahead and make one more of those cheeks, and then we're gonna go back to our green yarn and we are gonna work some front legs together next. And so for the front legs, we have our main color back in front of us, and we're gonna make our magic ring, or again, you can do your chain 4 slip stitch. And into that ring, we're gonna make 6 single crochets here. And of course, tugging our tail to close the ring, and with our stitch marker we will mark the last stitch of this round here. And now we have a repeat. So for rounds 2 through 7, which is going to be 6 rounds total, we're going to make 1 single crochet in each stitch. So no increasing, no decreasing here, just 1 single crochet all the way around for 6 rounds, and then we'll meet back to do round 8, which will be the last round of the front leg together. So I'll see you back here in 6 rounds once we have those rounds of our single crochets worked. Okay, so I've just worked my 6 rounds. We have this skinny little tube kind of a shape working here, and round 8 is a little bit long, so we're gonna work through each step together. So first part of round 8 is going to be slip stitch in the next 2 stitches. So let's go ahead and do that together. I got 1 slip stitch, and here is number 2. Perfect. And after that, it says to chain up 3. So we'll do that, 1, 2, 3, and we'll skip the first chain, single crochet 1 into the next 2 chains. So 1 single crochet in each one of those 2 chains, coming back down. And now we're back down to our tube here. And to finish off this sequence, we need to slip stitch into the last stitch here down at the tube. So we're creating the webbing of his toes right now is what we're doing. So that is 1 toe completely done and out of the way. We need to do that 3 times total. So we're going to go ahead and chain up 3 again. 1, 2, and 3. Skipping the first chain from the hook there, in the next 2 chains off the hook, we are going to put 1 single crochet into those chains. So we have 1 and 2. Ooh, stitch marker makes it a little bit tricky to work around there. And then back on to the tube here, we're going to slip stitch into that next stitch there. And now we have 2 toes, if you can see those starting to form. So we need to do that one more time. So from here, chain up 3, 1, 2, 3. Skip the first chain from the hook, and into those next 2 chains, we'll put 1 single crochet in each of those next 2 chains, just like that. And then we'll finish off by slip stitching into this next stitch here. There we go, and now we're at our last stitch, so we can remove our stitch marker, and to finish this off, we need to slip stitch into that last stitch where the stitch marker was at. We'll do our slip stitch there, and then we can chain 1, and we're going to fasten off. That is the end of round 8 and the end of the front leg of our frog. Pull that off my hook there to really fasten it off, and this is what it will look like when it's completed. So you can see his little webbed toes, and his little arm there is perfect. All right, so that is Mossy's one front leg. Go ahead and work 1 more of those. I'll work mine, and then we'll meet back up. We're still gonna work with our green yarn, and we're gonna make his thighs next. All right, now we have both front legs done, and we are getting to the end of our extra pieces we had to make. I know we have a lot for this project, but don't worry, we only have the thighs left and the feet for the back. So let's get right into the thighs first. You're gonna need to make 2 of these. We'll make the first one together as usual. So with round 1, and with our main color, let's go ahead and make our magic ring, or of course our chain 4 slip stitch. Say it every time. And let's put 6 single crochets into either your magic ring or your slip stitch chain 4. Perfect. So then we'll pull our circle closed just like normal here. And the thighs are just going to be little circles basically. So now we need to increase our stitch count from 6 up into 12. Because for round 2, the instructions are to make an increase in every stitch all the way around. And I am getting ahead of myself because I forgot to put my little stitch marker in. All right, I'm just too excited to get to assembling Mossy. So as we know how to do 2 single crochet in every stitch all the way around, that'll bring our stitch count from 6 to 12. Go ahead and make your increases in every stitch, and I'll meet you back here for round 3. All right, I just made my 12 single crochets. So now for round 3, we need to do 1 single crochet in the next stitch and then an increase 6 times. So our new stitch count will be 18. So 1 single crochet, and then our next stitch is 2 single crochet for our increase, and we'll repeat that pattern 6 times total. So go ahead and work that all the way around. I'll meet you back for round 4. Okay, here we are at the end of round 3. Our stitch count is 18, and for round 4, which is the last round of our thigh, we're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around, no increasing or decreasing. So we'll have 18 single crochets at the end of this round, and we can fasten off, and that is all the instructions for the thigh. All right, I just made my last stitch of round 4. Let's go ahead and chain up 1. We can cut ourselves a nice little tail to sew on later. I actually didn't leave a long enough tail. Leave a little bit longer than that. That's okay. I can add to it later. And that is our 1 thigh. So go ahead and make 1 more thigh here, and then we'll move on to Mossy's little frog feet. All right, ready for the last piece of Mossy we need to make? We need to make 2 feet. So let's make the first one together. We know the drill by now. So for row 1, using our main color, our green, we're going to chain up 4 here. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then we're just going to be making some toes. So it says after we chain 4 to skip the first chain and single crochet 1 into the next 2 chains, slip stitch in the next chain. So let's do that together. Skip the first one into the next one, 1 single crochet, into the next one, whoops, there we go, 1 single crochet, and into that third and final chain, we'll do a slip stitch. There we go, which is just pulling through both those loops, just like that. And then we will chain up 3 from here. 1, 2, 3, right off of that slip stitch. We're just chaining up, and we're gonna skip the first chain yet again. And we're gonna make 1 single crochet into the next 2 chains. So let's do that. 1 single crochet into the next 2 chains, 1 and 2. Very nice. And then to finish off the toe, we're going to slip stitch into the first chain of row 1. So we'll find our row 1 chain over here. That's the slip stitch spot we had just worked. And we'll just slip stitch into that spot yet again. Perfect, just like that. And let's finish off our third and final toe. So row 3 is chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then from here we're going to skip the first chain again, and we'll work 1 single crochet into the next 2 chains. So we have 1 and 2. Very nice. And then we are going to finish this off by slip stitching again into the first chain of row 1. So into that same spot we've been slip stitching in over here, we're going to slip stitch 1 more time through, and now we have these 3 little cute toes here for Mossy. Chain 1 extra so we can fasten off, and we'll cut ourselves a nice little tail here and pull that off, and there you go. We have a little foot for Mossy. So go ahead and make 1 more of these, and then we're gonna finally get into assembling Mossy, which is of course the most fun part. So I'll meet you back here once you have your other foot created. Alrighty, who is ready to start assembling their frog? I'm so excited. I've brought all the pieces forward, and let's get right into it. So the first thing we're gonna do is embroider some eyes on. So all we need right now is our tapestry needle and our color B, which is going to be our black yarn. I actually can take my crochet hook and put it aside completely. We will not be needing it. So we're just gonna work with our tapestry needle now here, and we'll go ahead and thread this black yarn onto our needle so we can begin working the eyes. And the instructions for the eyes are to embroider the eyes on between rounds 4 and 5 of each eye socket. Make 3 stitches in the same place for each eye. So let me actually just move some of these pieces out of the way. I don't want to overwhelm us here, so I'm going to move all this aside, and we'll work on one thing at a time here. That might just be the easiest way to do it. So I have 1 eye socket here, and we are going to do exactly what the instructions said. So it said on round 4 we need to make 3 stitches to create the eye. So if you want to count from the top, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. That was the round right before the last round of the project. So we can begin right here, and we can actually go from inside since we haven't sewn this onto the body yet, and we can just pull this through. Don't pull it through all the way. You want to leave a small tail, otherwise we won't be able to keep our stitch. And then into the top of round 4, that stitch, let's go ahead and push our needle through again. And we're just gonna pull that nice and snug like that. So we have the beginnings of our eye. Now we're gonna repeat this process 3 times. That's what it means to do it 3 times. Well, excuse me, 2 more times. So there's 1 time through. Watch your little tail doesn't get all caught up, and into that same spot as before. Go through 1 more time. And then we'll do it 1 last time. And that will create our cute little frog eye. So after we do the first eye here, we need to go ahead and duplicate the same process on the other eye. If you want to make yours thicker or thinner, you're totally good to do that as well. But since we worked it from the inside of the eye like that, we actually kind of have a little cheat because we don't need to worry about tying off any ends or weaving anything in. So I'm just going to cut a little bit of yarn there. So I do have a small tail, and we'll actually bunch this up into the project after we start sewing it onto the body. So a little bit of a hack there. Go ahead and do the same thing on the other eye, and then we'll meet back up. We're gonna actually put the eye sockets onto the body next. Okay, so I have both eyes completely added on to the eye sockets, and we're ready to assemble them onto the body. So I have already gone ahead and threaded my green onto my tapestry needle, so you can do the same exact thing. And it says to position the eye socket on each side of the body between rounds 4 and 8, leaving 12 stitches between them using the yarn tails to sew them into place. So in order to find rounds 4 and 8, we can start at the top here again, this swirl right here in the middle where we started, and we can work our way down. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is going to be the beginning. And honestly, once we push into here, our eye will naturally fall into place where it needs to be at number 8. So let's see how that will work. And just like that, it'll fall on. So if you really want to count though, you can, and go from 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like that. So see, it will actually just completely fall into place. Now to actually sew it on, we are just going to tuck these little black tails into the eye socket. We will be lightly stuffing the eye socket as well, but the tails do help as a little bit of an extra cushion even there. So make sure your little eye is towards the front of your project, wherever you have your tail attached to the project, and we're going to sew it down nice and securely here. So in order to sew this down, we'll go through the body and come out in the last round of the eye socket that we worked. And then to attach the eye socket onto the body, we're going to do the same thing by weaving through that last round of the eye socket and into the body. We're going to want to try to stay as close to that eye socket as possible as we weave around from the eye socket into the body. Hopefully you can see that okay there. There we go again. And we're going to repeat this all the way around the entire eye socket until we have a small opening. Once you have that small opening left, we will lightly stuff it with our remaining bits of stuffing, and then we can officially sew it closed. So I'll meet you back once I have just a few stitches left open, and we'll stuff our eye together. All right, so as you can see here, I have this little opening left, and I'm just going to go ahead, take the small amount of stuffing I have left and push it into the eye. You can totally use the back of your crochet hook for this if that's a little bit easier for you. Luckily, my nails make it pretty easy. And once I have this lightly stuffed, you really don't need that much. I'm going to go ahead and continue sewing it onto the body. So go ahead and complete that process for both eyes, and then we will meet back. We're going to do the mouth next. So I've just attached my other eye, and one thing I'm so sorry I forgot to mention is if you wanted to place your other eye exactly 12 stitches away, how you count your stitches is just by counting these little bumps here. So I just counted across from pupil to pupil, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then started my other eye right there. But it's really up to you, and whatever you think looks cutest for your frog, that is what you can do. But if you wanted to follow the 12, you just follow these little bumps or these V's, and that's how you find exactly 12 stitches apart. So I have my black threaded again because we need to use the black one last time to embroider on the mouth. So using color B, embroider the mouth on round 6 of the body, making sure the mouth is centered between the eyes. So we'll want to stay right in this general area here, as centered as possible as the directions mentioned. And from the top here, our top swirl, we can count down again. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we will place our mouth right here. So the mouth is a really cute little V, so we're going to go into that middle stitch. Actually, this one's kind of a little more middle, so go right into there, and then up and slightly diagonally left, just 1 stitch length above. Let's pull that yarn through almost all the way. So we're gonna leave something like that. And then let's push our needle back into that same place our yarn tail is coming out of, and we'll go diagonally right 1 stitch over, making sure they're about as equal and even as possible. And we're gonna get our first line put into place there. First half of the smile, and then the second half of the smile is going to be created right here. So let's just push our needle through that same spot with our yarn tail one more time, and now this can come out any random place on the body because we're just going to snip this end. So let's pull this all the way through like that, and we have our cute little smile all done. So I can just cut this tail here. Nice and secure there. And now for this tail right here, we just need to weave this into the body. So go ahead and weave that into the body. We're done with our black now, and we're gonna put our cheeks on next. All right, with all of my ends for the mouth woven in, I have now threaded my first cheek onto my needle. And for the cheeks, it says position the cheeks next to the eye socket between rounds 9 and 11 of the body using the yarn tails to sew them into place. So we'll kind of follow the line here of our eye socket. And if you remember, the socket naturally kind of fell from 4 to 8, so we can just go even 8, 9, just right here, and we can start sewing our little cheek on to the frog here. Now, if you find this spot isn't exactly where you want it to be, you can absolutely move it around wherever you feel like it looks the best for your frog. And we're gonna do a very similar method as to how we got the eye socket onto the body by just weaving in between every last stitch of the cheek and into the body. So we'll just go ahead and complete that all the way around, and then go ahead and do the exact same thing for the other cheek on the other side, and we'll meet back up to put the front legs on. Our little Mossy is really starting to come together. Make sure when you've completed sewing around your entire cheek and it's nice and secure onto the body, you push that yarn needle through any random spot on the body again, just like we did with the mouth. And that way we can just cut our end off here and not have to worry about it poking out at any point near the top of the project there. So I'm gonna go ahead and work my other cheek. I'll be right back. Okay, here is our little frog blob coming to life. Honestly, it looks really cute even like this, so I'm excited to see how cute it'll be once we have him fully finished. But now we are going to work with a front leg, so the legs that look like this, if you remember making those some time ago, and it says position the front legs on the front of the body between rounds 16 and 20, leaving 4 stitches in between the front of them, using the yarn tails to sew them into place. So the easiest thing we can do here is go to the bottom, and from our last round, which was round 26, we can actually just count back. So we have 26 for the middle swirl, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20. So 20 is going to be the bottom of the leg and where we want it to start, and then it'll naturally again fall up to 16. So I'm just holding it in place with my nail. I actually am going to go from the mouth and draw like an imaginary line down to round 20. So I'll hold my nail there to hold it into place, and then I'm just going to count 2 stitches over from either side because it said 4 stitches in between. So 2 over will make them the most center as possible, and we'll go 1, 2. So right into here, I'm going to begin sewing on my first front leg, and this will anchor the bottom first, so we can swing it around to the front like this, and we can begin sewing that down. Again, just eyeball it and make sure it's in a spot you want. And similar, well, let me hold it sideways so you can see it there. Again, similar to how we've sewn all the other body parts on, we go through the body and then through that leg. And I'm just gonna come out over on this side. Watch those little toes as you're sewing it in as well. Okay, and then from this side, I'm gonna weave into the leg and then into the body. And I'm going to complete this process for the entire leg. Once I get to the top, go ahead and make sure you have your yarn tail coming out of a random spot to cut it off and make sure it's nice and secured on. And then you'll go ahead and repeat the same process for the other leg. So make sure it also stays nice and straight. That's another important thing to keep in mind. But that is so cute. So I'll be back once I have both of these front legs on, and we're ready to start the thighs. Also remember, once you sew your first leg on, to go back to the middle and count your 2 stitches back over the other way so they are still as centered as possible. So I'll see you back here once I have the other leg sewn down. So here we are at the final steps of Mossy. As you can see, both of my front arms are on, and I did go ahead and put one of the thigh and feet on so you could see what it would look like finished. I wondered if that might be more helpful as we work this next step, but that is what it's going to look like all done. How cute is that? So let's work this other side together. So I have threaded my thigh here with the green yarn, and it says position the thigh on either side of the body between rounds 17 and 21, using the tails to sew them in place, and stuff as you sew. So as you know, we just worked our top legs from round 20 to 16, so that means we just have to go down 1 row to be round 17, and I am going to drag that across to the side of the body here, just like this, and from here I'm going to sew this thigh on. Again, the same exact way we've been sewing all the other parts of Mossy's body on. We are going to go through the last round of single crochets in the thigh or whatever piece we were sewing on, and then through that body and coming out a little bit over, just weaving it on back and forth to secure it nice and snug. This will also help so that none of our stuffing pops out. So go ahead and work around your thigh circle until we have just a small amount of opening left of space, and we'll go ahead and fill that little space with stuffing, and then we'll finish off his little thigh here. And just like with the eye socket, you can see we have this little opening here where we can still fit a little bit of stuffing. I have this amount of remaining stuffing, so I'll just take probably a little bit of it here to push into this thigh. Again, don't need a whole lot of this, making sure it's equal with my other thigh. We don't want one larger than the other here. Or you can if you want, whatever makes you happy. And then once that is all stuffed up and exactly how I want it, I'm just going to finish off by weaving the rest of this circle closed. But before we meet back for those feet, go ahead and take a moment to secure your other thigh on to the other side of the body, and then we'll meet back to do our last step, which is attaching the feet. Nicely done there. So on to our very last step, which is very exciting. I have my foot already threaded on to my tapestry needle here, and it says position 1 foot under each thigh close to the front legs using the yarn tails to sew them into place. So for me, the easiest way to do this is just to turn Mossy completely upside down, and I'm going to have Mossy's eyes face towards me, and from here we can go ahead and just sew this onto the bottom. So I'm going to go in again the last round of the thigh and into the body as well, and I'll just anchor this foot on. This doesn't need to be super precise or have any real rhyme or reason, whatever feels good to you. And you don't want to sew down all the toes because you do want them kind of to be able to frill around like that and be a little bit fun. So you kind of want to just make sure you're anchoring it a couple of times, going through the foot and then going through the body or the thigh just to secure it on. It doesn't need to be anything crazy. So I think 3 for me is just fine. So you can see it comes out the sides there like that. I think that's really cute and mimics those front legs pretty nicely. So I'll go ahead and just weave this through one last time just so that tail doesn't poke out anywhere. Cut this off over here. And I'm going to go ahead and sew my other end in. Go ahead and do both feet, and then we will take a final look at Mossy all finished up. Congratulations, your Mossy the Frog is all completed. I am so proud of you. Great job working this frog. You cannot tell me this is not the cutest little thing you've ever seen. I absolutely love mine. I hope you found this video walkthrough super helpful and it made it easy to break down every single step. I really appreciate you joining me for today's video. Definitely check out some of LYKKE's other AMITAMI kits, and I hope to see you in another one very, very soon. Bye!